Not too long ago, I put out a video where I joked about people who were so unserious about the issue of climate change and this record heat that we are experiencing. And when I say record heat, I mean the highest level of heat that we have seen in many places since records began. Multiple days of insane heat, well beyond anything in the historical record. And I kind of joked about someone who is so like obliviously disconnected from that, such an idiot, that they would just say, well, we got air conditioning, so maybe it's 190 degrees outside, but it's a cool 68 in here. And I was like, I literally invented that character as like, what is the dumbest possible position you could have on this issue? And then I found out that Ben Shapiro actually has that goddamn position. How? How is anyone so stupid that literally I invent out of whole cloth just an idiot character that says things that are so beyond the pale that no one could actually believe them? And then here comes Ben Shapiro to just unabashedly and completely seriously say the things that I said in such freaking jest. How?
Can I point out that there are a lot of headlines right now about how hot it is outside? I know. It's hot outside. You know what I can do about that? Zero things.
The headlines are not pointing out just that it's hot outside. They're pointing out that it's historically hot outside. What can you do? What can I do about that? I could do zero things. No, there's actually quite a few things you could do. You could support like the Green New Deal. You could support a more climate-friendly infrastructure. You could support green energy. You could stop taking fracking billionaire money and stop lying on their behalf. A lot of things you could do, Ben.
Thank God we have this thing called air conditioning. It's awesome. You know, it's a great cure for...
Oh, yeah, and, you know, the great thing about air conditioning is, one, everyone can afford to just run it 24/7. And everybody has it, and nobody works outside where they can't escape the heat. Luckily, all of those things are true, right, Ben?
Being super duper hot outside, being a first world country. Amazing.
We're a first world country with a whole lot of third world sections, though, Ben. I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people don't have air conditioning in this country. A lot of people have air conditioning but can't afford to just run it all the time. And a lot of people have jobs where, guess what, dumbass? They work outdoors. Construction workers don't get air conditioning, all right?
It works out tremendously well because it turns out that if you have a really solid energy grid and you have the capacity to turn on that AC.
A really solid energy grid? We've had so many blackouts and brownouts in this country because we do not have a great energy grid. We have actually a pretty faulty energy grid that could fail at a moment's notice and plunge us into being completely at the mercy of merciless, insane heat.
You're living quite comfortably these days. You know what sucks? Global poverty. You know what brings global poverty? Decarbonization.
Okay. Okay, Ben. That's the root cause of poverty, huh? Decarbonization. Everyone would just be rich if there was if everybody on Earth was just pumping out carbons 24/7, there would be no poverty. Man, does that sound like a talking point of an actual intellectual, or does that sound like a talking point of a shill for the oil and gas industry? Which one does it sound like?
Let me also point out that the media always do this routine when it's very, very...
This would be like if Ben Shapiro received a bunch of money from strawberry farmers, and then like he was like, you know what cures cancer? Strawberries. You know what would fix our economy? Strawberries. And everyone would be like, this guy is obviously a shill for strawberries. But because it's oil and gas, he can just like, man, you know what really would just plunge everyone into poverty? If we were to get off of oil dependency, if we were to stop relying on these dirty fuels like coal and oil and and we actually made serious investments into solar and wind and hydro, that would destroy us, wouldn't it?
Very hot outside. They never ever cover it when it's cold. So it's funny. The media will say,
Yes, they do. What are you talking about? If it's historically cold outside, yes, that will be in the newspaper, dumbass. If there's a polar vortex and it creates a gigantic blizzard and temperatures go to like -20, that's in the newspaper, dude. You're such a liar. How do people not hear that and go like, that's a lie? They just blindly accept what this little weasel says. It's so sad.
well, it's not global warming, it's now climate change. And the reason they changed the term from global warming to climate change is because the climate in many cases is colder during the winters than it was before. So it's hotter during the summers and it's colder during the winters. They've called
that's why it's called climate change. Good.
this climate weirding, but that doesn't really seem to go over all that way. So now they call it climate change, which of course is an incredibly vague term because the climate is always changing.
The climate is not all. I mean, okay, the climate is always changing. That is actually fair, but the rapidity with which it has changed since the Industrial Revolution is freaking insane. There's never been a time in Earth's history where the climate was changing this radically, this quickly. So, yeah. I mean, other than like a meteor hits and the Earth is plunged, and like a cataclysmic event will do it, sure. But like without something like that happening, I guess you could argue honestly that human beings industrializing is a cataclysmic event in some respects. Not quite as dramatic as a big meteor strike, but yeah.
However, it is worth noting at this point that all of this, folks, millions will die of the heat waves that are occurring on planet. Oh my God, the ocean is so hot during the summer in Florida. Okay, so first of all,
the ocean being so hot during the summer in Florida is a huge threat to the Florida economy, which I know you care about, because guess what? All the fish die because they can't survive at that temperature. Then there's no more fish. Then there's no more seafood market. Then a bunch of people starve and a bunch of businesses go under. And yet another food source for Americans is gone. We already have a lot of the water that supports our farmlands is being depleted. And it cannot be easily replenished. We already have a scenario where a lot of our fish are dying. A lot of our insects are even dying. So the entire ecosystem of the planet is being thrown into chaos. And Ben Shapiro just seems to think that that's going to have no effect on us. Think about for a moment the level of delusion present where your planet is literally becoming a totally different sort of environment. A lot of the species that you have consistently relied on are dying off. The bees that pollinate our crops are threatened. The fish that we eat are threatened. The insects that are such a crucial part of doing like the cleanup, getting rid of all of this organic material that is dead. Because like something dies, part of it, the decomposition process, is insects eating it. They're dying off. Their numbers have reduced pretty dramatically just in like the last few decades. And you just think all this is happening. We know all this is happening. It's all observable. But Ben Shapiro just thinks like somehow we're just going to be magically immune from it all. But the sad reality is that Ben Shapiro knows that's not true. He's just being paid to convince stupid people that it's true so that they don't do anything about it until it's too late. Ben Shapiro's job, his profession, is lying to idiots so that they don't overturn the apple cart until the people who are currently profiting are dead. It's like, hey, can you keep these idiots from hanging me until, rightly for what I've done? Can you do that until the day I'm dead? That's the grift. Ben Shapiro, his entire job is lying to idiots to buy the billionaires more time to the planet until they're all dead and gone and a new crop of billionaires comes up with a new grift.
It is hot this summer in Florida. Also, it's hot like every summer in Florida. You've been to Florida? It's really, really hot and humid.
It's been hot before. Has it been record-breakingly hot before? Has it been this hot before? Isn't that the point? It has never been this hot before. That's the whole point of record-breaking heat, is it's now hotter than it's ever been, which that might be worth taking notice of. I don't know. Seems like the kind of thing you might want to go, huh, why is that? Unless you just have zero intellectual curiosity, which of course you do.
Like, I noticed when I first visited here several years ago, and we moved anyway because air conditioning exists.
Good for it. Wow. I mean, every time I think that they can't get any dumber, they just go ahead and do. Pretty wild.